Welcome to the deep dive, where we take complex frameworks, tear them down, analyze the best practices, and really just distill them into actionable knowledge for you.
That's the goal.
And today we are diving deep into objectives and key results OKRs. This is the goal setting system that has become, well, just foundational for high performing product teams everywhere.
Absolutely everywhere.
Our mission today is pretty simple. We want to give you a shortcut to mastering this framework so you don't just understand the mechanics, but why it can radically change how you build products.
Right.
So let's start with the immediate non-negotiable definition. OKR stands for objectives and key results. The objective, the O, is the what. It tells you where you're trying to go.
It has to be qualitative, inspirational.
Exactly, something that excites the team. Then you have the key result, the KR. This is the evidence. It's how you'll know you got there.
It's the scoreboard.
The cold, hard number. If the objective is the rallying cry, the key result is, yeah, the scoreboard.
And, that separation is so essential because it immediately clarifies what OKRs are not. People who try to implement this, they often just fall back on old habits. They try to shoehorn their existing to-do lists into this new format.
And that just doesn't work.
It fails immediately. Yeah. So let's be really explicit. OKRs are not your daily to-do list. They're not a list of features you promise to ship.
And critically,
They are not your performance review criteria. If you treat them like any of those three things, the whole system just collapses.
okay, so if they are none of those things, what are they, fundamentally?
They are a focus tool. That's it. They force the entire organization, and especially your product team, to ruthlessly concentrate on the 2 or 3, maybe 3, most important outcomes for the quarter.
It's really about saying no to everything else.
That's the entire game, saying no.
And that focus, it starts when you structure them correctly.
Yeah.
So let's unpack the anatomy. Because while the name only has 2 parts, the tool really has 3. You have objectives, key results, and then initiatives. Let's start with the objective, that North Star. We said it has to be qualitative and time-bound, usually a quarter for a team. But what makes an objective good?
The sources all stress they have to be ambitious, but also comprehensible, jargon-free, easy for someone in sales or marketing to understand instantly.
You want to inspire action, right?
Exactly. A great objective might be delight new users with a frictionless onboarding experience.
Yeah.
That's a clear direction.
Or something like increase customer loyalty in our self-serve product. You can feel the purpose there.
You can, and then comes the most important part, the key results. These are the metrics that tell you if that aspiration was actually met.
If the objective is poetry, the KR is the accounting.
That's a great way to put it. And the accounting has to be based on outcomes, not activity.
Ah, that's the key distinction.
It is. The single most important rule here is the format. KRs must have a clear starting value, a baseline, and then a clear target.
You have to know where you are now to measure success later.
You have to.
So let's nail this down with some real examples, because this is where teams really succeed or fail. For that frictionless onboarding objective, a great KR would be what?
Something like increase onboarding completion from 40% to 60%. It's measurable.
Or for, say, a reliability objective, you could write, reduce average page load time from 3 seconds down to 1.5 seconds.
Perfect. And you generally want 2 to 4 of those per objective.
Yeah.
Any more, and you lose focus.
Okay, so here's the critical pivot for product people. The most common mistake we see is confusing key results with tasks.
Oh, all the time. They just list features they want to launch and call them key results.
Can you give us a specific example of that failure, that KR as a task trap?
Absolutely. A product manager writes a KR that says, launch the new onboarding wizard. That is not a result. It's an output, an action item.
Because the team has total control over that.
100% control. They can launch it just by scheduling it, but they have 0 control over whether launching it actually changes user behavior. The result is that change.
Like the completion rate going up.
Precisely.
And that distinction between the action and the result, that leads us right to the third piece, the initiatives.
Right. Initiatives are the work. They are the features, the experiments, the hypotheses you test to try and move those key results.
So for the KR, increase completion from 40% to 60%, the initiative could be build the new wizard.
Or it could be run A/B tests on the current flow. The work is flexible.
And that's the key, isn't it? The flexibility. You can kill an initiative mid-quarter if it's not moving the needle.
You have to. The key result, that 60% target, that stays stable. But the how can and should change. That's real product agility.
So why do we need all this rigor? I mean, product teams already have roadmaps and backlogs. Why bother with OKRs?
It really boils down to two huge factors: alignment and autonomy.
Let's start with alignment.
Well, the first shift is it's philosophical. OKRs force product development to move entirely from prioritizing outputs to prioritizing outcomes.
The classic shipping features trap.
Exactly. The traditional mindset is comfort in counting things. Did we ship 10 features? Yes, we succeeded.
OKRs change that whole question.
They stopped the team from asking, what did we ship? And forced them to ask, what customer behavior did we change to improve the business? And that is a much, much scarier question,
It's moving from certainty to uncertainty.
which is where the real value is.
I also found it fascinating how deeply OKRs enforce alignment. They create this clear line of sight from the team's daily work all the way up to the big company goals.
Think of it like a chain of command, but for goals. You have the company strategy, which informs the product strategy, which then dictates the team's quarterly OKRs.
So if a team's OKR can't trace back up that chain,
You scrap it immediately. It ensures everyone is rowing in the same direction.
and that links right into autonomy, which is what every product team wants.
Yes. When you do this right, leadership can finally step back. They define the success criteria, the OKRs, and then the team is fully empowered to decide the how.
So the team owns a roadmap, they own the experiments.
They own the solutions. It gives them creative freedom inside a very clear, measurable boundary of success.
And that's why that outcome versus output thing is so important.
It's everything. If you write an output-style goal, you choke all the autonomy out of the room.
For example,
If the goal is launch new pricing page in Q3, leadership has dictated the solution. The team is just a feature factory.
right.
But if the outcome-style OKR is increase self-serve upgrade rate from 3% to 6%, the team might discover a new pricing page is the wrong idea entirely,
Maybe it's just better in-app messaging.
or a different trial structure. The OKR gives them the goal, and they own finding the best solution. That's real empowerment.
Let's talk about the nuance here, because goal setting isn't one size fits all, especially in product. The framework has flexibility, right, with committed versus aspirational goals?
It does. Committed OKRs are. Well, they're exactly what they sound like. The team is committing to achieve them. You expect to hit these with, say, 70 to 100% confidence.
Well, you'd use these for business critical stuff.
Yeah, things like system reliability, regulatory compliance, the core revenue engine, things that just have to get done.
And on the other side, you have aspirational OKRs, the stretch goals.
These are the big bets, the moonshots, the goals that feel a little scary when you write them down. You use them for innovation, for pushing the boundaries.
And the scoring for those is different.
It has to be. If you hit, say, 60 or 70% on an aspirational KR, that's actually a huge success. The target was designed to be difficult,
Okay.
to push the team out of its comfort zone.
This flexibility means OKRs can apply to pretty much any product domain. We saw some great specialized examples.
Yeah, let's look at a few. For an activation team, the objective might be help new users experience value in their first session.
So their KRs would be about speed.
Exactly. Like decrease time to first value from 10 minutes to 4 minutes. They're measuring friction.
Okay, now what about a reliability team?
Their objective is simple. Make the platform reliable and performant. And their KR, which is a committed one, would be something like reduce P1 and P2 incidents from 10 per quarter to 3 or less.
Super clear. A binary result.
Totally.
And the one I found most interesting was the idea of discovery or learning OKRs. Even when a team is in a really uncertain space, they can still use this.
Yes, because here, the outcome you're measuring is knowledge validation. Your objective could be validate the core pain points for persona X.
And the key result, how do you measure that?
It's still measurable. It could be conduct 15+ in-depth user interviews and synthesize findings into 3 validated product hypotheses. The outcome is validated knowledge, not launched code.
Okay, let's get practical. It all sounds great in theory, but where do product teams actually trip up when they start drafting and executing these?
The drafting process is probably where most of the mistakes happen. It has to start with alignment, understanding the company strategy, the product's North Star metric. If you skip that,
Your OKRs are just busy work.
totally disconnected. And that leads to the next critical step, choosing your objectives. The sources are so adamant about this. 1 to 3 objectives, maximum,
For the whole quarter.
for the quarter. If you have 4, you have chaos. If you have 5, you're not using OKRs anymore. You're just making a confusing wish list.
Then there's the stakeholder alignment piece, which requires some finesse.
A lot of finesse.
Yeah.
You need input from engineering, design, sales on what outcomes matter.
But, and this is the key, you have to protect the team's autonomy on the how.
Yes, this is where product leaders earn their pay. You consult with sales on the desired increase in revenue, the KR, but you do not let them dictate the feature list. That's the negotiation.
And once they're drafted, they can't just die in a spreadsheet.
Ugh, no. That's what we call organizational theater. They have to be living documents. You have to integrate them into your weekly check-ins, your sprint planning.
So you're constantly asking, is the work we're doing right now actually moving the KR?
And if the answer is no, you have to be brave enough to stop the work.
Which leads to the scoring phase. This should be about learning, not blame.
It has to be. It uses a zero point 0 to 1.0 scale. A zero point 0.7 on a stretch goal is a win, but the score itself is secondary.
The real value is in the conversation after.
The real value is asking, what did we assume was true that wasn't? Which of our initiatives failed, and why? It reframes failure as just input for the next cycle.
Okay, finally, let's hit the big pitfalls. We've mentioned having too many OKRs and writing feature-based ones, but what are the two other big traps?
The third one is so insidious, no baselines. A key result that just says improve user retention it's useless.
Because if you don't know the starting point.
You can't measure improvement. Is retention 50% or 95%? It completely changes the problem. Baselines are absolutely mandatory.
The final, most dangerous one.
The one that kills ambition. Using OKRs directly for individual performance reviews.
Because that just encourages people to set easy goals.
It creates this perverse incentive called sandbagging. If my bonus is tied to hitting 100% of my KRs, you bet I'm going to set the easiest targets I possibly can. I'll avoid stretch goals like the plague.
And you end up with a system designed for high performance that's aimed at low performance targets.
You defeat the entire purpose of the framework. You have to use them for context, for learning, not as a simplistic checklist for individual evaluation.
So that brings us to the end of this deep dive. OKRs are, well, they're a structured way to enforce extreme focus, to align autonomy, and to make sure every feature you build actually leads to a real quantifiable outcome.
A change in customer behavior or business performance, that's the goal.
We spent a lot of time talking about how initiatives, the work, can and should be flexible, while the KRs, the goals, remain stable. So here's a final provocative thought for you to take into your week. If your work is flexible and your goal is stable, what new initiative or experiment would you stop right now in your current workflow if the metric for its key result just wasn't moving? It forces you to constantly assess value over just activity, and it ensures you are always learning.